Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to our studio up here on Veterans Memorial Boulevard, the Oshner Health Podcast Studio. This is another episode of NewOrleans.Football presented by PJ's Coffee. And if you're in the market for a new car, make sure you check out my guy, Matt Bauer, state-of-the-art dealership up here on Vets, the Ford dealership. Go in there, check them out, get you a nice cup of coffee, get you a great price on a new Bronco, whatever you need. Matt will take care of you and get you the best car that you can get at the best prices, because that's what Matt Bowers does, and he'll get you right. We got a good show for you guys today. A lot of stuff to talk about with the Saints. Panthers games coming up this weekend. We're going to talk about what they need to do on offense with Derek Carr back to get back on track, and then kind of set that game up, go through the matchups and everything else. If you guys aren't signed up for the website yet, make sure you do that. We're doing great stuff over there. NewOrleans.Football/subscribe. Get all of our news, our analysis, everything you need to know about the Saints during the game. We have the live blog going on, so make sure you check that out. Pop in. Talk to other Saints fans. You'll get all of our analysis there. And we do a lot more there than we do on Twitter. So it's the best place to follow along with the game. We got the whole crew here. Brandon's here. Mike's here. Edwin's here. Joe skipped school again to be here. I don't know what's going on with that, but I guess he doesn't have school on Fridays. I just wanted to be known to the truant officers. He is lying to us about needing to be at school. He says he doesn't have to be on Fridays. So I want no smoke with that. We'll be right back after this quick break. Oshner Health is proud to team up with the NFL and the New Orleans Saints' Crucial Catch mission to fight cancer and save lives. Crucial Catch helps more people access the tools they need to catch cancer early and promotes prevention and early detection of cancer.
Rouse's Markets is voted best grocery store in New Orleans, best grocery store in Baton Rouge, Mississippi, Gulf Coast, Thibodaux, Houma, Hammond, Lake Charles, Mobile, year after year. Thank you for choosing us best grocery store on the Gulf Coast. Number one. Thank you.
Thank you.
The number one grocery store
In Mississippi, Alabama,
Louisiana. 1 million customers a week can't be wrong. Welcome to Rouse's.
The NewOrleans.Football show is proudly presented by PJ's Coffee. PJ's Coffee has some of the best drinks that you can find. They have locations all over the city. They have pastries and everything else you need to get your day started. So go check them out. NewOrleans.Football is proudly sponsored by Urban South Brewery, the makers of Paradise Park Lager. I love supporting local breweries, and when looking for a refreshing, easy drinking beer, I always recommend Paradise Park. In fact, I think it might be the best game day beer out there. If you want something a little lighter, try Paradise Light. It's everything I love about Paradise Park with just 96 calories and 2.6 carbs. And if you're looking for a family-friendly place to watch the game, I'd recommend Urban South's Tap Room in the Lower Garden District. They've got 15 TVs, 30 unique beers on tap, and mouth-watering urban smash burgers. The whole family will want to make Urban South their new living room, because at Urban South, they take laid back seriously. Looking for the best insurance coverage at the lowest price? Look no further than Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency. They are a local independent insurance agency right here in New Orleans, specializing in home, flood, and auto insurance. Their agents are born and raised in the area and understand our community's unique needs and the homeowners insurance crisis our residents are currently in. At Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, their dedicated team will shop every available carrier in the market, ensuring you get the most comprehensive coverage at the lowest possible price. They know your time is valuable, which is why they work diligently to provide you with the quotes as soon as possible. Why settle for less when you can have the best? Trust Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, to protect what matters most to you. I do. I've been a client of theirs since 2021. When we couldn't find someone to insure our house because of the big oak tree growing over top, Chabert worked until they found someone that would work with us and give us the protection that we need to feel safe in our new home. Call them today at 504-326-6526 or visit them online at Protected by Chabert. That's 504-326-6526. Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, your local insurance experts. Hardhide Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey is an 86 proof blend of aged wheat bourbon, American light whiskey, and fresh Ponchatoula strawberries. Blended in New Orleans, it is not for the thin-skinned. Look for it in your favorite stores, bars, and restaurants. NewOrleans.Football is proud to be sponsored by Firehouse Subs. Make sure you check out their location on Veterans Boulevard. Attention Saints fans, don't let pests and termites invade your home field. Trust the team at Red Pest Solutions to tackle those unwelcome visitors. Call the Red Man today for unbeatable pest and termite control. Score peace with no pest. Visit redpest.com, REDDPEST.com. All right, let's get into the show. welcome back to the Oshner Health Podcast Studio. Before we get into the show, I was just looking at something, and I want to know what you guys think on this. I want your guesses. I was just looking at the PFF scores for the players, and I never look at these things. I was just looking at them. I want your guess at the top 5 starters. Saints.
Man, I know they were loving Trevor Penning for a while. Is he in the top 5?
He is not in the top 5.
Okay, good.
Tyron?
He is not
Alvin.
in the top 5. Alvin is in the top 5.
Ding, 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 ding. Alante? Should be.
Hold on, let me get the nickel up. I'm looking at base. Hold on.
Oh, okay.
So keep going.
Alave?
Granderson?
Well, they don't
Carr?
have Alante on here because Alante is not. Whoa, Alante score. They have Alante at a 49.1.
Their grades are ridiculous.
All right, you have Granderson?
Yeah.
Granderson's on there.
Okay, I said Alave and then I said Carr.
Oh, Carr's definitely on there.
Yeah.
And you said Olave?
Yeah.
You'll never get the last one.
Okay, wait. Now I'm excited. All right, we got to go fast, so we got listeners here.
All right.
Quick. Said you'll never get it.
Never get it.
Werner's got to have a good grade every time he plays, right?
They don't like Werner.
They don't like
They
Werner.
don't like Werner.
Marshawn should have a good grade.
Marshawn would, but they don't have him on the current
Okay.
list of starters.
Okay.
Do they like Chase Young?
They hate Chase Young.
Okay, just making
Yeah.
sure. Just
Really?
making sure. You
That
said
kinda
I'd never guess it,
surprises
so I just was making sure.
Tali Fuaga?
It's Fuaga.
Well, okay.
This one's crazy. This one's crazy. One more on this. Brzee, over under 64 out of 100.
Well, you just said it was crazy, so I'll say under.
Yeah.
Over under 50.
Over.
Under.
Over under 40.
Oh,
God.
no.
Over.
They got him at a 37.3
Wow.
for the season,
Gosh.
which is crazy.
What's your film review? We're going off topic here, but what
Some of the pass
what
rush
have you
is
thought
good.
about Brian Brzee
Some of
this
the
year?
pass rush is good. The run stopping isn't. I mean, it isn't quite there yet. I mean, it's something that I think he probably needs to work on a little bit. I wouldn't grade him at a 37.3.
Yeah.
I think there's some stuff that they could do to maybe put him in more advantageous situations. They got him as the 121st out of 122nd interior defensive players,
Come on, man.
Damn.
which is crazy. That seems a little. That seems a lot harsh to me.
Yeah.
I don't think he's like a total liability. Like that suggests total liability. I don't see that. But I mean, look, I think there's room for growth.
It's wild that he can have 4 sacks in 8 games and still end up as like the 121st.
Yeah, I mean, some of the run defenses,
Shoddy.
it's something that
Yeah,
I think
I get it.
needs work. But all right, let's get into the show.
Let's get into our first topic presented by Shawbear Insurance, the Earhart Agency. Is it now or never for Derek Carr and the Saints offense? Derek Carr is back after coming back from an oblique injury. Chris Olave, he's taken steps to kind of preserve himself on the field. He switched his helmets to the safest one that's out there. Alvin Kamara is here. Taysom Hill is back. They're going against a bad defense. Is it now or never for the Saints offense?
Yeah, I think absolutely. I mean, you would like to think that Derek Carr might need a game to warm up, and then Eric McCoy might come back a week later. So they'll be better later in the season.
Yeah.
But this is the matchup they're going to be judged on. If the offense comes out and looks like scores 8 total points because of a safety, and all they can muster is a couple field goals, I mean, the excuses are going to be gone. I mean, they've got 4 out of their 5 starting offensive linemen. They got their number 1 receiver. They got their quarterback. Like the injuries still stuck. It sucks that they don't have Eric McCoy and Rashid Shaheed. But look, Clint Kubiak, Dennis Allen, Derek Carr. Like if you don't put up and be like, look, I mean, Nick has had the perfect phrase. He probably didn't coin this phrase. It's probably been used before, but you can find out if those injuries were an explanation or an excuse.
Oh, I coined that bad boy.
Good. Trademark it. Let's put it on.
Stamp it.
Let's put it on our T-shirts. But so this is a game where they have to prove it. They need to come out here and say, hey, look, we didn't lose our offense. It was just injured for a little while. Now it's still here. Now it'd be better for them if they had some other built-in excuse this week, but they don't. They're playing probably the 32nd best defense in the league. There is no reason they can't put up some points. And no 20-17 win over Carolina like they had in Carolina in week 2 last year. Like the offense has to look good to keep the Wolves at bay.
Keep the Wolves at bay. Yeah, I agree with everything you just said. I would say though that I think the players have time. I don't know if the coaching staff has time. Like if they have a bad game on offense and they lose, I don't know if it's now or never for DA in that sense. I think you come out, you lose this game. Who knows what happens after that? These guys are going to get 8 more chances after this. Like they could look bad in this one and then like still kind of get it going. But I think, I think that like let's rephrase it. Like, is this a desperate need to get going on offense? Absolutely. Yeah. And I think just to keep like total just destruction at bay, you gotta win this game. And I think looking good at offense. But like the noise and the Wolves at bay, like they're so far. Like it's just like, and I'm not disagreeing with anything that you're saying.
No, you're saying that even a good performance won't keep them at bay.
Well, no, I'm saying that I don't know that the Wolves can get to the bay. You know what I mean? Like I just don't know that they. Yeah. I don't know that the bay is reachable. Like who's reacting on the bay to?
No,
like,
no. A good game against Carolina would be like throwing steaks to them, so you have that 90 seconds that it takes them to chew on the steak before they start attacking again.
They still might break into the house.
Yeah, you're still screwed.
Yeah, like
maybe during that 90 seconds you can get to the bathroom door and lock it.
Yeah, but like I guess the thing I'm saying is like I just don't know. Like I don't know what impact noise has on anything. That's what makes it like we keep coming back to this, and I just don't know how to analyze like if there were an end game, what it is like and how it plays out and how you get to it and what it means and who reacts to what. Like I've heard stories about like Tom Benson going to Tiger Stadium and them like jumping all over him about one of the coaches, and then he ended up like firing the coach like right after that. Like I don't know what it takes to kind of have like that moment. But I don't know. Like if they lose this game, I don't know. Well, I don't know what it does.
I'll give you my theory.
The locker room might dissipate at that point, though.
I'll give you my theory. I mean, we've heard Mickey Loomis. We know Mickey Loomis. You wrote about it, and I think we all have a pretty good perception of what he is. And the fans are checked out. They're done. They're like nothing's changing my mind. I'm convinced it's not good enough. But they bought into this coaching staff and this quarterback at the end of last season when they finished strong. They hired a staff they believe in. They had a good offseason. They started the season great through 2 weeks, even through 4 weeks. And then they've decided, all right, well, then we had this massive amount of injuries. I'm not going to judge them solely on that. Hopefully that was a blip on the radar, an explanation and not an excuse. But I think the clock starts now. Now you're being judged. Like, this game, Atlanta, Cleveland, bye week, like, I don't think one game, we talked about this, I don't think anyone gets fired even if they drop a dud in one game, but three duds, and they're like, no, the offense just stinks. 6 points, 16 points, 11 points. Like, I don't think they can do that now with Derek Carr back, with 4 of the 5 offensive linemen back. I don't think Mickey Loomis is going on the radio saying, look beyond the results if they keep stinking from this point on. I don't think it's a 1 week. You got to show it now. I think, it's probably 9 weeks. It could just be 3 weeks if it's terrible for 3 weeks. But they're on the clock now. They're being judged now. That free pass is over. The excuse pass is over. They're being judged now, I think. Yeah. I would hope so. I would sure hope so.
But yeah, I mean, that isn't last chance, though, because of just the way they think about things. Like if they drop a dud, he's going to be on there and he'll go, nah, you got to wait. He just came back, missed 3 games, rust,
I agree.
It's not like I think that would be his reaction to it. And that, yeah, I think 2-3 weeks, probably so.
But then I will take it one step further and
logically,
say,
though, it should be the last thing.
Yeah. Right. Well, what I would say is I think they'll be judged over. I think they'll get at least 3 weeks. Bye week, reassessment, who knows? I think they'll get at least that 3 week stretch till the bye. Probably they'll get all 9 weeks till the end of the season. But this is the opportunity you have to take advantage of. If you're hoping to put some more like 35-point games on the board, if you're hoping to put another 200-yard rushing game on the board somewhere, if you're hoping to have evidence, look, 7 times last year our offense was elite. Do it this week because you're not getting a better opportunity to have one of those games than
and
this.
Just beyond that, like I'll go back to the locker room. I don't like as far as the last stand. I don't know if you lose this one if you keep your locker room. I know all week they've been telling us.
Yeah, that's fair.
The coaching staff has been telling us the locker room's fine and there's no fractures, nobody's frustrated. I know they are. Like I have conversations with people. Like I know some people, not everybody, but like I know there's some people that are frustrated. And damn it, they should be. Like,
six
he just
straight.
lost
Yeah,
6 games in a row.
Yeah.
Like, it would be insane if nobody was. Like, if everybody was just like, no, this is all good. I'm happy. And I want to, I'm as joyous as I was coming into work on Wednesday in week 3 as I am now. Like, there's no way. Like, some people are they're sick of losing. They're obviously sick of losing. They should be sick of losing. And this isn't like some like, like unnamed source thing. Like, you got Cam Jordan talking on the record about we had a captain's meeting and probably soon to be a players meeting. Like, those things don't happen when everything's like kumbaya. Like that's when it's like, all right, gut check time. What are we doing here? Like, let's figure this out. That's when things aren't good. So I think if you keep losing, that's where you become at risk of it. And then, that you could lose control of it if you're someone in the front office. Like, your patience meter might be different than your team's patience meter. And at a certain point, you have to protect your team because you can't get rid of 70 players during the offseason or whatever it is. Like, I don't know how many guys I have on IR plus practice squad, but like, it's a lot of guys. You can't get rid of everybody, and you need to, at some point, worry about preserving that. But again, all of this stuff goes away if you go out and you play. Like, if you play a great game against Carolina and it feels good and it looks good and the players can get that kind of like, they can feel a little something, the offense becomes a little bit easier. Like, I know it's a grand scheme of things. Okay, great, you beat the Panthers.
Yeah.
Worst team in the league, means nothing. That doesn't buy you a job, but it's like Mike said, you're throwing that steak to the Dobermans and it kind of keeps people off you for a little bit.
For a week. Yeah.
For a week.
Yeah.
And
then you got to build off of it. But you got to start there.
But if you feel good, you could sit back and say, hey, you know what? All right, quarterback's back, got enough players back, maybe this can work. And it gives you time, and then you got to go prove it again, and you got to go prove it again. But I think it's very important to have a good game this week.
I know it sounds like crazy talk to even predict that could happen, but I think we all liked what we saw from the run game in most of the Chargers game. No, but I'm saying the Saints run game and most of the Chargers game, where it's not crazy to think they could have some success. They could. I mean, they should.
It's Carolina. If they don't, I think if they don't,
it's a disaster.
Yeah.
Right. And totally agreeing with both of y'all. But I mean, to the point where they need to have the fire in their gut to go out there and really throttle these dudes. Because this is a team that's actively getting worse. They're trading people off. They're sellers at the deadline. Yeah. So if you go out there, you can get players like, going back to this list, even Mason Tipton. He's been in all of these games, but he has no touchdown.
He needs
just
something,
get things going, just across the board. Get the tight ends involved with Derek Carr, all type of things like that, and throttle these dudes. Yeah, it provides hope that, okay, we've gone over this bump, and now we're going to be okay, at least through the next 2 games after that. But this isn't a team where, and it's like getting in a fight. Carolina, they've lost so many times before where they're just going out there and helicopter swinging, just trying to make contact. You know what I mean? It's not precise movements that they're making. They're just swinging. They have to put Bryce Young back in because Andy Dalton is injured and stuff like that. So, yeah, I think you have to go out here, put your pedal to the metal, and just do whatever.
Meanwhile, there's a podcast going on in Carolina right now where they're saying, this is the team you have to beat. This team's lost 6 in a row.
That too.
They're helicopter swinging and just hoping for anything.
Right. There's just one game separating the Panthers and the Saints, but the approach to it, I mean, it seems like the Saints are, they're digging their heels in it, and they're trying to go out. They got to go out on top in this one. They have no choice, in my eyes. They have no choice but to go out on top in this one. Let's roll on to the next segment presented by Urban South. We got today that Kool-Aid McKinstry and Marshawn Lattimore will not be able to go today. Rico Payton might be able to go, according to what Dennis Allen said. So will the cornerback injuries derail the Saints in a different way?
Could.
They really could.
It could. I mean, you're taking you're down Paulson Adebo, Marshawn Lattimore, Kool-Aid McKinstry. Obviously, Alante's still there. He'll move to the outside. I think he'll probably just play outside corner this week. Honestly, I don't know if you do
because Ugo's got to be part of the solution.
You don't have anybody. You don't have anybody that can play on the outside, unless you're going Shamar, Gene Charles, and Rico Payton out there. Da
as your top 3, and Ugo goes to the bench. It's possible.
It's possible, but I don't know. I don't know if I see it that way.
I like Alante on the outside and Ugo on the inside. Like I don't hate Ugo being the third guy. He's shown.
Yeah. You're better if he's
decency.
not. You're better if he's not playing. But yeah, I agree. I think you're maybe okay there, but on the outside, I don't know. It's not a good situation. It really isn't. But if you're going to be down some players, Carolina's a team that you want to be down some guys against. But this is just kind of the ongoing story of the season. Like just more and more injuries.
And in practice, A hamstring injury in practice, is that like the 4th time that's happened this season? I've never seen anything like that.
I understand this is it's a delicate topic because guys get hurt and sometimes there's nothing you can do about it. But at what point are the injuries their fault and no longer something that's something that you point out and say, boy, that's bad luck? Or you know, at what point do they become culpable for them?
Yeah, I mean, they have to be. I mean, Dennis Allen gave some very generic things that don't sound like miracle solutions. But then again, I don't think they know who would know what a miracle solution is? Like, what could the solution be? But more stretching, more hydration. Like, they're going to try everything, he said, starting next week in practice. But I don't know. You know, maybe they should, you were suggesting maybe it should be harder practices so they're more prepared for the games. They're getting hurt. I have no idea what it is, but whatever they're doing is wrong. There's no doubt about it.
When I did the study on I did a study on the soft tissue injuries. It was like 3 or 4 weeks ago. I think the data was through week 5 or week 6, one of the two. And at the time, the Saints were averaging like 3.5 soft tissue injuries per game, and that number was significantly higher than anything over the last 2 years. You know what team had 0? Like I went like. What team do you think got 0?
I already know. You told us.
What team do you think got 0 soft tissue injuries?
It's probably the Panthers.
No,
it's
not the Panthers. You saw their injury report this week?
The Broncos. The Broncos had 0.
Bo Lowry.
Yeah, I left that.
Sure.
I just couldn't. I couldn't believe it when I seen it. Like, and look, when Peyton was here, like I went through the data, like going back a number of years. Like, there were years where they were high on the list, years where they were low. So it isn't like they had it all figured out under Sean, but it was just like insult to injury at the time. Like, it was crazy. It was a crazy thing to see at the point, but at some point. I mean, look, there are people, like, we're sitting here like, who knows what the answer is? Because, we don't know, but there are people that do know what the answer is somewhere. Like, and they're keeping people healthy. Like, something's wrong right now. It really is.
What's that show with the little Doogie Howser? You know what I mean? Things like that. Like, somebody has to come in here and house this thing and pinpoint where.
I think you were thinking of House. I think House is like mysterious ailments and a genius who comes up.
Doogie Howser was
the
young one.
Teenage
doctor.
He's
the young one, but he was still figuring stuff out.
I think they have Doogie Howser and they need House. I think that's what.
Hey man, Doogie had all the answers.
That's what I'm saying. You disrespecting him.
You can't sit here and stand for this.
All right, I'm sorry.
Doogie would go cure like whatever and then go journal about that bad boy at the end of every episode. He solved a mysterious illness every week.
I think he's with Wanda today still. But the magic ailment.
Doogie wasn't skipping school.
Nah, this don't look like study hall over here, man.
He was already. I think he's already a doctor working full time.
Yeah, what's Joe doing? He ain't a doctor.
He said NOF. Horse apiece.
Yeah, it's a horse apiece.
Then again, but look, somebody who was skipping.
Here's the magic.
End of their college career to come here, it works out pretty well.
Here's the magic ailment for the banged up cornerbacks who would be overmatched against most teams and better be a lot healthier against Atlanta next week. Carolina is 30th in the league in passing offense. They traded away their top receiver, Juwan Johnson. They listed Adam Thielen as doubtful. And even their best receiver right now, rookie Xavier Legette, came up with his own mystery toe injury on Thursday during practices, and it had been limited ever since. And they switched from Andy Dalton, who they had a little success with, back to Bryce Young because Andy Dalton got in a car accident. So should be a good matchup for the Saints, but they're both in dire straits.
I know they probably heard us talk about Shemar Jean-Charles throughout the offseason. He's a guy that's been off and on the practice squad. He's kind of had a stretch of being on. He had his most experience in 2021 when he played 14 games for Green Bay. He's been on Green Bay, San Francisco, and then the Saints. So I mean, if he has to get pulled up, and
he's like a starter the entire training camp and preseason too, because Marshawn missed all that time. Debo missed some time, and he was, working. Whatever those reps mean, he's not. It's not like Connor McGovern being signed off the Jets practice squad and saying, "Welcome to the team. You're on the field."
No, he was working in a meaningful capacity throughout the summer. So I mean,
he was halfway decent in camp. He wasn't anyone that I necessarily thought and. They were lying to us. Like, I don't think any of us necessarily thought, like, performance-wise, he was a slam dunk to make the team. But he looked okay. And the way they were using him, we all thought he was going to make the team because he was repping with the first-team defense the whole time because Marshawn was out. And then they got rid of him. So I guess, like, in the sense of putting him back in, like, communication and all that shouldn't be a huge issue because he did get those reps all throughout the summer.
Right. Now it's time for our next segment presented by the Louisiana Lottery. I know Halloween is over, but I wish I had the flashlight, dim the lights, and just do this because would you dare? Would you dare? Yeah, there we go. Thank you. To start Taysom Hill or Juwan Johnson as your fantasy tight end based on this matchup.
I'd consider Taysom Hill. I really would. You're foolish probably for doing anything that has anything to do with the Saints offense, but Kendre Miller's hurt again. The Saints should actually be able to run the ball in this game because they should be winning or it should be close. They're playing a lousy defense. And we think this staff loves Taysom Hill. They showed it before he got hurt earlier this season. And they're trying to cut back on Alvin's workload a little bit if they possibly can. I would think this feels like a Taysom Hill gets a touchdown. Taysom Hill gets 6, 7, 8 touches. Could even catch a couple passes in this game. And frankly, Juwan Johnson, I think I'd have to be super desperate. I'd have to be in like a deep league where like who's on the waiver wire, who's this guy. But I wouldn't be surprised at all if Juwan Johnson finishes second on the team in catches this week, or maybe third behind Olave and Alvin. He's shown a little glimpses of being part of the game plan recently. I don't have high hopes for him, but 4 catches for 40 yards and the possibility for a touchdown. I mean, Juwan Johnson's been dabbling with that kind of production.
He's been trending up. It's just hard to know necessarily what it's going to be with Carr.
Yeah.
But the last time they were on the field together, he had 5 for 31. So, I mean, that's a decent amount of catches. Yardage isn't crazy, but that's a good number. Last 4 games for him, 5 for 31, 3 for 48, 3 for 18, 3 for 48.
And he had a big one called back by one of those penalties too, I think. So, they've been getting him involved.
But he only played 44% of the snaps last week too. So now that you got Taysom back, that number is going to go down.
Yeah.
So who really knows? Like I think it's a risky play. For the record, I got Taysom starting in one of my leagues. So I think it's an okay play. Like I'm okay going down with that ship, just logically kind of knowing how they probably want to use him. And look, I think this is going to be a good running game for them, so he should get some touches there. I feel okay with playing him.
We could have done a Derek Carr segment for the Louisiana Lottery too, but we talked about him a little the other day. Like I wrote this story. My questions for him were everything we know about Derek Carr is as soon as he can start throwing it 20 yards down the field again, he's going to try to convince everyone he can play. And he insisted they weren't letting him do that, and that he was at 20 yards last week, and now he's at 60 yards and making every throw, and that they were protecting him from him, to use his words or whatever. But I mean, he at least sold me on the training staff had all the same concerns I had, which is that Derek Carr's going to try to say I'm good to go as soon as he's good to go. And they're like, no, we're going to make you sit for 3.5 weeks before you get back on the field. So I think he should be pretty close to Derek Carr. Obviously there should be some rust and there should be a little, trying to think of the right word, but divots in his game or something like that. But I don't think he's super limited in this game.
Like we said in the first topic, man, break out that WD-40. No time for rust.
Exactly,
There's no time for rust. You got to just sling it and make it happen.
Total Maintenance is one of the largest locally owned home and commercial service providers in South Louisiana. They were founded in 1980 and serve the greater New Orleans and Baton Rouge markets. And Total Maintenance wants to show some love to our NOF listeners. They have a membership program that gets you 2 tune-up visits for AC and heating, as well as club membership discounts of 15% on all repairs, half off of all diagnostic charges, and 3-year warranties on most repairs for membership clients. This is usually priced at the low price of $24.95 a month per system, but if you tell Total Maintenance that you found them through NOF, they'll lower the price to $20.95 per month per system for as long as you keep the membership active. It will never increase. Total Maintenance has a tune-up special running this summer for $79. Down from the normal price of $179. This is a one-time offer for one system only. They also offer a free diagnostic on second opinions on units deemed to be unrepairable, and they offer free estimates for replacements as well as commercial maintenance programs. Services include AC and heating service and replacement, electrical service, plumbing service, as well as generator service and installation. They are Total Maintenance. Find them at tm-ac.com or give them a call at 504-841-3300. Or if you're in the Baton Rouge area, 225-480-1000. Martin Wine and Spirits is home to a selection of hand-picked barrel select bourbon, whiskeys, and much, much more. They are family owned and operated since 1946 and specialize in wine, spirits, gourmet food, gift baskets, catering, and tasting events. They have many locations, so they're never too far away. You can check them out in Metairie, New Orleans, Mandeville, and Baton Rouge, or if it's more convenient, you can always shop online. Whether you're a wine novice or a seasoned collector, you'll enjoy the Martin Wine and Spirit experience.
Saints score! Score big with Saints Score. Win up to $100,000. Enter the second chance drawings for cool Saints prize packages. Play Saints Score scratch-offs from the lottery.
There's nothing quite like the feeling of stepping into your dream home. At Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union, we can help make that dream a reality with a team dedicated to you. When you partner with Jefferson Financial, you do so for the life of the loan. Having a single point of contact when questions arise is invaluable. Our experts are here to guide you every step of the way. There's no better time to invest in your future. Apply online at jeffersonfinancial.org. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Lender.
Whether you are a local New Orleanian or a fan in town for the game, get your pre- and post-game fired up at Aaron Rose. Local chaos and local love for the black and gold. Wake up and live with daily drink specials, mimosas, screwdrivers, Bloody Marys, and hot or frozen Irish coffees, all just $3 or $4 between 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Aaron Rose, half a block from Bourbon Street in the French Quarter, 811 Conti Street.
Welcome to the Queen Casino, where entertainment meets unparalleled customer service. From our days on the water to our new land experience overlooking the Mississippi River, our dedicated staff is here to ensure your visit is nothing short of exceptional. Whether you are coming or going, our well-lit parking lot and security team provide guests with red carpet treatment. Our security team keeps watch so you can focus on fun and fortune. From table to table, our attentive staff is here to serve up the ultimate experience. Join us at the Queen Casino. Your royal adventure awaits.
Welcome into the Ochsner Health Podcast Studio here on Veterans Memorial Boulevard. It is now time for our next segment presented by Aaron Rose. Which matchups matter most in Saints at Panthers?
Who do the Panthers still have? Actually, funny enough, the Panthers still have a few of their big ticket players.
Xavier Woods.
Who would you say?
I said Xavier Woods.
Yeah, well, and J.C. Horn corner versus Chris Olave. That was a big one we talked about. I think it's the run game. They've got their two guards they spent all their money on, Robert Hunt and Damian Lewis. Chuba Hubbard's been playing great, averaging 5 yards a carry. As bad as Carolina has been, Chuba Hubbard is averaging 5 yards a carry for them this year. We know how lousy the Saints' run game has been. And so I went back and looked at week one, wondering, did Chuba have some success against them? 6 carries for 14 yards. And the team had 20 carries for 58 yards, averaged 2.9 yards per carry. I can't believe that was this season. I can't remember a time when the Saints were holding a team under 3 yards a carry. But even after that, Chuba's gotten up to 5 yards a carry. So he's also their leading receiver of anyone on the current roster because it was Deontay Johnson, who they just traded away. So Pete Werner back. Demario Davis, they got to keep Chuba Hubbard from giving them any breathing room, I think.
For me, there's a couple weak points that I would try to go after with them. I think their slot corner, Smith Wade, I think he kind of stinks. I would try to find a way to kind of isolate him in the coverage and just relentlessly attack him. I would be trying to go at him almost every single play if I could. He's just not had a good season to this point, and I would try to, that's how, like the Sean Payton thing. You find a guy that there's a little bit of weakness there, and you just try to exploit it relentlessly. I would try to do that. I think their center, Mays, can be beat a little bit. I mean, it can be sometimes hard to like isolate somebody on that because you can slide help, but I would try to find a way to create something with a look to just get him in spots where you're maybe isolating someone and trying to win that one-on-one to get some quick pressure up the middle. So I would try to attack that a little bit. And then obviously Bryce Young, number 3, I think that's a guy that you just have to do everything you can to confuse him. The Saints have done that well, get him up on his tippy toes trying to see things and throwing to God knows what. If you can do that, like I think you got a chance to win this game. There's little spots all over the place that I think you can press out with them, and those would be the 3 that I would try to isolate a little bit.
Man, I remember the first time we did which matchups matter most. It was back when we thought it was Trevor Penning and Talifuaga who were going to potentially derail the season. We wondered if Jadeveon Clowney would do anything against him. man, the Panthers pass rush. What a sad season they're having. 2 guys have 2 sacks. One of them is big interior lineman Ashawn Robinson. Clowney has 1. 9 sacks total for this team all year. It feels like Derek Carr should have a little time to throw in this one, but Penning and Fuaga need to still make sure that the interior pressure needs to be held at bay. Cesar Ruiz, Lucas Patrick, second week back, but hopefully they can keep him clean in that pocket against a team with only 9 sacks this year.
What are you all expecting to see from Kamara this week? I know he's still dealing with some injuries, but I think
he should run well. He ran well last week. What do you have? 10 for 67. He looked really good last week. I think he averaged 6.7 yards per carry last week.
That's a good average.
I expect him to look good in this game too. I think they're going to get him the ball. I think he's going to have room to operate. Obviously, there should be some type of adjustment for Carolina that should slow down some of the stuff we saw in week 1. Hopefully, they have the Saints have a counter punch to that. Mike was making that point at the end of the last show. Like, we do need to see that their ability to counter punch improve a little bit. And people know what the Saints want to do. If you're going to take that away, let's see what the counter to the counter is. So, I think that'll be interesting to watch. But I expect them to be able to run the ball in this game.
now it's time for our Martin Wine and Spirits questions of the day, because it's a Friday, so there's 2 of them. Martin's is home to a wide selection of hand-picked barrel select bourbon, whiskeys, and more. Martin's, so much more than just wine. Today's first question comes from Matt. How does this team fix its depth issues in the offseason without doing a full rebuild?
Either way, the answer is the same. Draft better, draft better, draft better, draft better, draft better. Like, full rebuild, draft better. It only works if you draft well.
Yeah.
Try to keep the core of this team together and fill in the depth around him. Hit on some draft picks. I mean, easier for me to say than to do, but they've kept all their draft picks, which is good, even after they flirted with trading for Devontae Adams. Trade deadline's coming up next week. We think they're going to keep him. Maybe they give up a 6th-round pick for somebody, but maybe that's somebody who's on the team next year. But, geez, hit on some draft picks. Hit on some draft picks. Like, they're not going to be able to, go out and buy 5 new starters in free agency. So fix your depth issues without a rebuild or rebuild. Start hitting on some damn draft picks. That 2023 draft class is one of the most frustrating, disappointing aspects of this entire season.
Yeah, I guess the answer is if you're doing a full rebuild, you aren't fixing your depth issues. You're creating just more issues. There is no, you don't rebuild in the year. You're tearing this down and it's getting thinner. It just gets worse. So it isn't going to rebuild, automatically a better team next year. No, you're going to be significantly worse next year. And, kind of what you saw the last 3 weeks is what you get every single week during that teardown. And then it probably takes multiple years to build it back up. Unfortunately, Drew Brees isn't here to keep you winning 7 games during the midst of your teardown rebuild, which was 14, 15, 16. And when you have Drew, it's a lot easier to rebuild. If you don't have the quarterback, you might be trying to fit that piece forever, and your rebuild might go on into perpetuity to where it's just you go from rebuilding to just ass. There is a dissension into just terribleness there. So if you're rebuilding, you aren't fixing your depth issues. How do they fix them? Yeah, it's what Mike said, and it's what I think the one thing they do well is they find cheap talent on these veteran minimum deals that can come in and play snaps, and the drop off hasn't been super duper significant. I think that got stretched a little bit thin on the offensive line because you got 3 of them out there at the same time. But you got to keep finding those guys. But it's drafting better. It's hitting on your draft picks.
Before we hit our second Martin's question, because I was trying to decide between 2 that were similar, and I think that this continues the same discussion we're having from Zach Lang. He said, do you actually think this team is fixable with the current roster and coaching staff, or will it take a true offseason overhaul before there's light at the end of the tunnel? So let's go with the premise from, Chrome 3 Cult, and say, hey, DeMario's back next year, Tyron's back next year, Alvin's back next year, Derek Carr's back next year. Can they fix it enough to be a competitive team next year? Do they have enough resources?
If this team had actual depth, maybe. But what does fix it mean?
Yeah.
What does fix it? Is fixing it getting you to 12 wins in the playoffs for sure? No, but fix it to the point where You could be, again,
if
chasing,
they don't rebuild, they need show me a 10-win season. Is a 10-win season possible? Actually possible. We've talked about it for 3 years.
Like
in a row.
to me, fixing it is like you're chasing 9 and hoping to get into the playoffs. So we could find a way to win 10 and maybe sneak in if everything goes right. Like fixing it though, like it just depends
That's a temporary. That's flex tape.
Yeah, it's flex tape.
Yeah.
Can they fix it, like to the point where, is buying a new tire versus like a patch? Like no, they aren't buying a new tire if they don't start over. Could they patch it and roll into the playoffs and win 10, and then the next year you're back to 6 or 7 if a couple things go wrong? Yeah, that's probably right back where you are. But like fixing it to where you have your little contender window, like no, that isn't doable.
To marry the two ideas together, your hope, if you're looking for hope, is all right. They don't go total rebuild.
Mm-hmm.
They plug the tire instead, patch the tire instead. Derek Carr is the quarterback. Kamara, DeMario, Tyron. Have 2 good draft classes in a row in the meantime. And then by the time DeMario retires and Cam retires and Tyron retires and Alvin's contract expires, then hopefully you've got 12 young guys that you're excited about. And maybe you're picking your next quarterback at that point. But if they're doing that while competing, they better have twice as many Alontae Taylors and Pete Werners and Chris Olaves as they do right now when they're on the other side of that.
That's exactly what they're trying to do. They don't want to tear it all the way down. They want to find a way to draft better, stay competitive, fix the cap while they're doing it. And the downside to that is when you have injuries, in a lot of them, you don't really have enough players to fill the gaps. That's the problem with it. You have paper thin depth. You don't have the backup that's Jameis Winston that can come in and maybe win a game or two to keep you afloat while your starter's out. This is exactly how it looked in the offseason. We sat here and said, hey, look, like this team probably isn't worth an insurance policy, so if the starter goes out, they're screwed and the season's over. Well, the starter went out, they were screwed and the season's over. Like that's kind of the consequence of it. But
same thing with letting Andrus Peat go. He was an insurance policy they didn't want to pay whatever $2-3 million on, and that burned him too.
I feel like that was a huge mistake.
Yeah,
I did at the time, still do.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, look, but like fixable with what they got, I don't. In terms of something that's going to be satisfying to people, no. Like, and here's the thing that gets like frustrating about it though, is that as you keep on this path, and they have for now, this is the 4th season of it. Like, there is a thought as I'm sitting here now, like, well, what if they had just torn it down 4 years ago, and you still have the same drought of playoff games, and you're sitting here now, and you're the team with $127 million of cap space, and you don't have the quarterback coming back to get you outside of the top 5. Like, you don't have that. Like, so now you'd be sitting there with 127 and the top 5 pick, and that would make all of this a lot more palatable. Like, if it felt like it was building towards something, like that doesn't mean that to keep it together, draft better, all of a sudden you just have a great class and you're galvanized and you're going. That doesn't mean that's impossible. It just feels distant right now, and it's a hard sell. Like, it's a hard sell to say, like, they're going to do this and they're going to get it right and it's going to be fixed. That doesn't mean it's impossible.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's extremely possible, but you actually have to go do it. And right now, with the way they've been drafting, it's just hard to sit here and say, like, yeah, doing this and hoping for the best is the best course of action. Like, that's expired. For a while there was that belief. To me now, that is expired. And I've been like Mr. like never even, like, at this point it's like, like, man, it's just a hard sell.
I supported it a lot more. Like, in hindsight, obviously, and there were a lot of people, it's not hindsight. It was 2020 current time vision for them at that time. They wanted to do this a long time ago. I believed a lot more in what we just described. Keep this core together, try to build the next young nucleus around him. I believed in that more when Cam was 31 and DeMario was 32 and Michael Thomas was still part of this team and Alvin was 27 and Marshawn was 25. Like, I didn't want to scrap that team entirely at that time because they had so many good players. Like, I agree. The expiration date is hit.
Or they could use a Mike Thomas right now, couldn't they? Couldn't they?
Yeah.
Like, here's the thing. If they hit the ground, like, if they play great down the stretch, like, maybe by the end of the season, my tune changes. But like, I just don't. I can't sit here and see it right now. Like, there's just too much. I don't know. You guys ever seen the movie The Mist? Like, we're in, like, I don't know. Like, there's an alien monster on the other side. Like, that just feels like it's just like ready to take you out.
I don't even need to. You just said a horror movie called The Mist, and I agree 100%. That's what it feels like, even without seeing the movie.
No, yeah, it's insane, man. Like, this is a conversation that you all had earlier like in this offseason, even after the season ended, like, why are we still in this same position? You know what I mean? And like you said, it's hard to become palatable to just say, okay, well, let's do it again and see this, and that. Now, granted, like you also said, the window is still open for the end of the season and maybe the tune to change a little bit, but man,
it's impossible to see it right now. It just is. Like,
hard.
it's just impossible to see anything else. It feels pointless. It feels fruitless. You know, I've never sat here on November 1st and been like, oh, God. Like, you know, it's just like, this is going to keep going. Like, it has to change immediately. And look, the quarterback was out. The quarterback probably does matter a lot. Like, it probably will look a lot different. But, like, sitting through these last 6, especially the last 3, the last 4 has been absolutely brutal.
Hey, you've been getting your teeth pulled, man. It's bad.
Yeah, it's bad.
Nick
It's
likes
bad.
going to the dentist.
No anesthetic.
He doesn't mind
just
that.
straight.
He doesn't mind that. He gets,
taking him to the back
it's
of the
the only
chair
time
with
he's
the
ever
fishing
forced
pliers
to
and
sit
yanking
down
him
in a
out.
chair with his phone off. So
No, I do
he
like
likes
going to the dentist. I do. Yeah.
Next up from Who Dat Content, if Dennis Allen remains the head coach next season, does there need to be a scapegoat like Pete Carmichael was last offseason?
I'll take this one. I disagree with the notion that Pete Carmichael was a scapegoat. You know, I don't think he was like scapegoat. To me is like, well, we got to throw somebody who's not to blame out to the wolves. Like, you know, like I don't believe he was scapegoat.
He was the steak.
I feel like Pete needed to go, and scapegoat to me is just like, well, you know, coach or manager or whatever is like going to fire someone to save himself. Like, I don't think that's what happened.
Well,
like,
let me rephrase the question because I want to hear your answer to it. If it's deemed that Dennis Allen is not the problem, but other things are a big problem, as last year it was deemed the offense was the biggest problem this team had. The offense really had to be fixed. Is there something else that could be fixed under Dennis Allen and Dennis Allen could still work?
Well, if you're getting to a point where DA is able to survive this, I think that means your offense is working. So I wouldn't say he needs to go. Darren Rizzi absolutely does not need to go. I don't think you even consider that. The only thing that I would look at is if it doesn't turn significantly over the next half of the season. And there's a half of the season for whoever they want, you know, to change their narrative. Whoever is looking bad right now, you have a whole half a season to change your story. If the injuries keep up, I mean, that's something that and I wouldn't consider that being scapegoated. I would consider that just not having enough available players, and that would have to change. But outside of that, like, if you're making it to the end of the season, like, if Riz ever got fired, he'd be hired before the tweet went out. Like, he would have a job, but someone would probably fire their person to hire Riz. Like, that's how he's regarded in the league. And like I said, if DA gets there, that means Kubiak and them, like, you know, what we saw earlier in the season was telling the truth. So, you know, I would say that would probably be the only place.
Yeah, there's no way Dennis Allen stays and fires Kubiak and his staff after 1 year and tries another offensive like that.
No, it's over.
Yeah, it's over if that. The other department that I think is on watch is the college scouting department led by Jeff Ireland. I only think he would go if it was like the massive overhaul. Like, no, look, we're firing Dennis Allen. We're bringing in Mike Vrabel. We're letting him choose everybody that's part of his staff. He can choose his top scout, you know, the kind of players he wants for his system. I don't know that they would keep Dennis Allen, keep Clint Kubiak, and then try to hire a new college scouting director. I mean, obviously, Jeff Ireland has done some incredible things around here. I don't think he's on the hottest of hot seats. I think they would all probably be a package deal. But, I mean, that's one other area that has definitely been underperforming for the last 4 or 5 years.
I would say this, and the only thing I would say to counter that is I don't necessarily know that, you know, every pick is on the scouts.
No, I completely agree.
Like, I don't think, you know, I just Just to, like, you know, for levity and fairness in the conversation, like, the scouts I talked to, like, they all, like, a lot of them call, like, Jeff the GOAT and all that.
I
like,
think, I agree.
I think that's how he's regarded in a lot of league circles. And I've heard some stories about how, you know, certain players get picked, and I don't necessarily think that's him all the time.
Totally fair.
You know, I think some of the decision gets made. I think though that they do need to, if they stick on the current path, like, they do need to look at their process. Like, I think drafting, I don't know, like, it isn't the RAS, but, like, it is the RAS. Like, whatever they do leads them to the same conclusion that the RAS scores create. And I think the process that leads you to drafting these type of players, it is not working. Like, it is not working. So something there has to change. Something about whatever they're coveting, like, they need to figure out like why it isn't working as well as it should. And look, I thought they went off script a couple times, in recent years. Like, Foskey was a little bit different than some of the things that they've done, and that didn't work out. I felt like this last draft was a little bit of a change, and it seems positive so far for the most part. Like, some of the stuff they did was a little bit outside of the norm. So maybe that shift has already started a little bit. But yeah, wherever that final say is coming from, like, it just doesn't feel like, sometimes it just feels like maybe you just need to change up a little bit of some of the stuff that you covet.
That'll do it for this edition of NewOrleans.Football. We appreciate y'all for stopping in today. If you want continued coverage on Sunday during the game, make sure you're subscribed to NewOrleans.Football to get Nick and Mike's thoughts throughout the game. Check you next time. Overtime is next.